Today, I'm going to be talking about the album Imaginal Disk by Magdalena Bay. And first, quickly, I'll talk about who the group is, as it's my first video on them. The group is made up by Matthew Lewin and Mika Tenenbaum, who actually are both of Argentine descent, met in high school in Miami, but actually at an after-school program. Together, they form the group Magdalena Bay and also have an ongoing relationship. And these two were both inspired by the likes of Charlie XCX and Grimes, which is clearly seen with their synth pop progressive music. But they also blend in things like funk rock and even hip hop style beats in their music. That's why they've collaborated with the likes of Lil Yachty before. They have made many EPs, such as their mini mixes, which I seriously recommend, especially 3, it's super good, as well as many singles, but they have 2 studio albums, Mercurial World and Imaginal Disk, which is the one I will be talking about today and actually came out in 2024. And it's gained a lot of critical acclaim now, but I still don't believe it gets the appreciation that it deserves. But today, we're going to be going over the entire story of it, and with that, we can enter the intergalactic world of Imaginal Disk.
Hello.
The first song is She Looked Like Me, and it introduces us to our protagonist, which is portrayed by Mika herself. And it introduces this idea of this person looking at this version of themselves they want to be, which our main character in the story is True. But this song seems to be a lot more about Mika herself. Her parents traveled across the world and eventually gave birth to her. And then she says, "Bang, bang, and it's customary, ordinary." And this idea of being ordinary or not comes up a lot throughout the album with the character. But here it's the first time it's mentioned. Though we quickly get introduced to what this album is going to be dealing with, which is the interaction between the character True and her idealized self, which also shows the progression for the group of Magdalena Bay themselves. True, she says, looked like her, but this other version of her attacked, and instead of being worried, says, "This already seems really out of whack, I know, and it sounds confusing, but this story will continue to build, and I will try my best to keep you along for the ride." But by the end of the song, Mika says she's still ordinary. And so now we have this start of True seeing an idealized version of herself that she believes is better in every way, though she doesn't know how to achieve that version of herself. And with that, we can go into the next track. Killing Time is the next track, and this name perfectly goes into what the song is about. True wonders why we use a violent word such as killing with passing time. She's just pondering what she wants, killing time until she can sleep. Though verse 2, we get another idea. True wants love and just pondering why it hasn't came to them yet. And then she determines that she doesn't take enough action during her days. She just mindlessly goes through them. But then by the end, our protagonist starts questioning herself. She starts to look inward and saying she can always waste time and let it all go by, but finally she wants to start taking action in her time and create time for herself instead of just killing and passing the time. And that's when she sees an ad. The True Blue Interlude track is just that. It's an ad that True sees telling her about becoming her true self.
Say hello. you, the purest you.
The ad starts discussing how they have a way for our protagonist to become her truest self.
It's here, Imaginal Disk.
The procedure they allude to is what this album story is based upon. And True decides to do the procedure, and Image starts up, an entire song about her undergoing the True Blue Imaginal Disk procedure, wanting to be made in the image by the doctor in the music video into her true self. She immediately starts with
Time to start the clock from the top.
showing how there's this looming timer of the procedure throughout the song, and she's asking the doctor
What's the best you've got?
to address her problem she feels she has. The first verse has her saying, showing how this is her current self, where she feels she lacks what would make her her true self. And then we start hearing how much time is left in the timer.
22 more minutes.
This 22 minutes comes back later, and I promise I'll bring it up when it does. Also, clearly the chorus of
Each brand new image.
is True, seeing what is seen as her idealized self. We also see that with the
I'm the best you've got. True or not?
being a play on words, but also shows that it's literally her deciding which one she's gonna be. And when she says, oh my god, she's talking to the doctor. The second verse has True's idealized version starting to take over, saying,
Time to let me in. Let's begin.
they're starting to lead them to become their true self. And as the timer starts going down, they start merging more and more. It goes from 21 more minutes all the way down to only 1 more minute until, and in the music video, what we can see is that True is out as the procedure has gone on. And now we head to the next track, Death and Romance. As said before, True is left pondering things, feeling unrecognizable in a sense. But what I feel like is going on right now is during the procedure, now we're starting to find out why she's getting this procedure. I feel like the tracks, and I'm going to say this early now, I feel like Death and Romance, Fear Sex, and Vampire in the Corner in the first half of watching TV all are before Image. They're all a past experience she had, and now during the True Blue Imaginal Disk process, she's starting to look back on those things and trying to decide why is she making this decision right now. But in this song, she's thinking about a lover. She is almost pleading for the love, and this persists throughout the track. Also, the line is similar to All Is Fair in Love and War. This gives us the outline to the song of True wanting love, but understanding relationships can be amazing, but also fall apart anytime. And some even become toxic, whether or not you wanted it so bad in the first place. She then says, which could be seen as a relationship where you give evenly, but also on the flip side could be True realizing the idea of codependency, which could also be a huge negative. And what we see in the music video, we see that actually what she sees as the lover being taken away, she sees it as being these outside forces that take the lover away. It has these aliens and things like that that pull the lover away from her. And I feel like this is her avoiding the real truth of the situation, and instead of being like, oh, that was me, she thinks of it as these outside factors that pulled her love away. And what we see in the music video, but also in the album, is this transitions well into the next track, fear and sex. And each of these words could be confused or intertwined with the two words of the last track. Obviously fear and death and sex and romance. And this one is much darker in tone. While death and romance sounded like this bright love ballad, fear and sex sounds like things are starting to get dark. It's almost disjointed. And right at the start we find out why.
So you stand in a broken light.
It seems this relationship that True had has now ended. And now instead of feeling the mystical feelings of love, they see that their ex just wants to forget it ever happened. But while the ex moves on, our protagonist says,
I'm where I was before.
she still feels that love, while the former partner wants to move on. Now these awesome, beautiful feelings of love have turned into distress. And at the end of the song, she says,
Are you there? Are you lost in forever?
showing how True may have reached out to their ex, but again, they did not answer, leaving True to be consumed by these awful voices in her head. And time is passing by around her once again, without her achieving the love that she wanted, just like in Killing Time. And that same idea of time passing around her is happening yet again. Vampire in the Corner is once again another track showing True being distraught in the loss of their lover, saying things like,
I wanna make you mine. Told you 1,000 times.
it shows despite all of these awful feelings and the ex wanting to move on, she is still stuck in this idea that if they try hard enough, they can force them back together. And though she does start to have sort of a realization, she realizes that although she may think her ex is this vampire or monster, she has become one herself in a way, wanting to make them hers and force something on them they no longer want. As they still kind of see it as this outside stuff that affect the situation, and they don't look inward, and now they've started to blame the other person. But like I said, they have started to look inward. And by the end of the song, True's stance hasn't changed, as they explode with the same rhetoric. Watching TV is where our protagonist starts to have this realization amidst the heartbreak. The first section has her saying,
I miss you, so call me back someday.
trying her hardest to get her ex to contact her back, but it doesn't work. This leaves her in a heartbroken state, which was the kind of thing that led her to get the Imaginal Disk procedure done in the first place. She then says,
If you wanna be clean, you gotta scrub until the blood comes out.
showing how True believes that to feel better, she will have to completely reset herself in a sense, after being broken by the relationship. Though that's when she says,
The shadows are near. They know what's been wrong with you all these years.
as now the realization of what her real problems were from the start are setting in. As now, despite the procedure, she feels like things aren't going to change after all. The monsters that she has to face are her past mistakes, and she even starts to realize this pursuit of this idealized version of herself didn't help anything. This quest of becoming her ideal self has started to make her lose herself, and by the end, it says, Tunnel Vision is the next track, and has our narrator finally realizing what the problem from the start was. Herself. This shows how she realizes that in reality, what was holding her back was herself, And that instead of the world around her being what made her sad, or other factors being what caused the relationship to fall apart, it all was partly her as well. She continues saying, as she acknowledges her past, though the end of the track is heartwarming with her saying, she learns that the key to improving as a person or becoming who you really want to be is by leading life as a loving and forgiving person. And even though there can always be rough times, this is the best way to counteract that. And self-forgiveness and personal growth is key. Now, do you remember the 22 minutes thing? Well, after 22 minutes go by in the album from that time, we get this crazy instrumental bit at the end of the song. So real quick, I'm just going to recap. Right now, in this sort of section that we've had, this has been her, like, while she's been sedated during the procedure, she's remembering what led her to this point, all the experiences that could have brought her to it, but now she's realizing what they actually meant and looking inward and trying to figure out who she actually does want to be. And is starting to realize now that she has to actually work to do that. There's no instant way to fix it. She goes through this relationship where she then experiences heartbreak. She blames the world, then she blames the other person, but then she finally acknowledges that she was partly to blame for it. And something such as a relationship starting and blooming and ending, it can be it could be everybody's fault or nobody's. It's just how things go. But what she's realized is that now she's realized that you have to love and forgive others, but also yourself. And that takes us great into the next track, which is Love is Everywhere. And our protagonist comes to that complete realization in the song. The disc, in a sense, helped her come to the realization, but it wasn't because of the disc. It was because she realized all of these things herself and learned to be loving, but also forgiving. And this song really pushes that sentiment that love is everywhere. And of course, she still does face her flaws of overthinking with the line, showing that these problems don't magically go away. You just have to take things one day at a time. She then says, reinforcing the idea that instead of being so harsh on yourself and constantly holding yourself down due to the past mistakes, you should forgive yourself and try to move on. And this is what will actually lead to happiness. Feeling Disconcerted is another sort of interlude track where our protagonist sort of saying they will keep pushing for love. And while yes, they haven't found it right now, it doesn't mean they never will. But now we can go into one of my most favorite songs on the album. That's My Floor has our protagonist at her most confident, and the entire song is her breaking through, conforming to what the disc was going to make her. She says, and she's taking control of her situation, and is saying that even if it makes others look at her badly for not conforming, she will still continue to be herself. And the whole song really has this basis. But what can we learn from the music video is that our protagonist has changed. Now that she no longer has the disc, she has embraced her demons and has the confidence to conquer them. And she tries to free the other aliens around her in the video, but sadly, when she takes the disc out, they all die. And to me, in a sense, this can show her breaking through the societal norms like I said before, but also maybe that in the wake of this, she still can hurt people. But either way, she still indulges. The whole chorus seems to give the idea of embracing her identity, and by the end, she has acknowledged her flaws and is facing them with this newfound confidence. But again, that doesn't mean she still can't make mistakes. And what I find interesting is in interviews about this song, the singer Mika has said that she feels like our protagonist we followed has now been tainted, and that's what this song is showing, that now she's been changed in a sense to become sort of not a villain, but someone who has lost herself and also hurt people in a way, but has accepted that. And to me, this leads great into the next song, Cry For Me. And I see a lot of people who say this song is sang by the Doctor. But what I've started to think is, while that could be the truth, I also feel like it could be our protagonist true. Mika, the singer of Magdalena Bay, has also said she was singing from the POV of a villain wanting forgiveness in this track. And as we've seen in the That's My Floor music video, True has turned to be a villain herself, as even though she is freeing people from the disc, they seem to be dying. And you can see in the music video, it transitions into Cry For Me as she gets sucked away from that world. And throughout the whole album, she has dealt pain, but has also received. Her entire journey has been about love and forgiveness, whether it be forgiving herself or others. And Cry For Me encapsulates that idea, which really makes me think she is still singing from the POV of the main character after rejecting the disc. She says, and this whole repeated statement shows she wants forgiveness about the worst parts of herself, but she also wants to let others know that they can be forgiven as well. And now at the end, we hear that she's fading out, possibly passing away in some way. Now her story has ended. Or has it? Angel on a Satellite, while simple in meaning, seems to be the hardest track to place amongst the rest of the songs. It has our protagonist singing about this which could lean toward the Doctor idea. Or it could be that it's True reflecting on the idealized part of themselves and their lover from the past. The lyrics really make me think she's singing about a former love interest that is now gone, but she acknowledges they always see the sky, angel on a satellite. While she but now in a sense, she does. She has came out the other side, and while now she may have passed, she is now the angel on a satellite for others, just like her partner was to her. She freed others and now is gone. And so all those people can look up and remember her for the good things that she did do. And also give forgiveness to her, just like she was talking about throughout the album. That despite the mistakes that she made, someone like her still does deserve forgiveness, and she knows that. And that's the whole lesson throughout the album. And with this last song of the Ballad of Matt and Mika, we've reached the end of the character's journey, but not our group Magdalena Bay. The entire song is really for the band to interpolate the beginning of the album. Instead of wanting to become ordinary, they want to stay not ordinary. And they want to be unique and experience life the way they want. It's completely acting out against conforming like they talked about at the start. To understand the never-ending thing brought up, we have to talk about real quick how their first album, Mercurial World, was a loop, and this ending of finding their true selves during Imaginal Disk closed that loop. And through the character journey, we in a way see theirs, singing about their personal experiences that have shaped them into the band they are today. And while the journey of Imaginal Disk may have seemed out of this world, the character journey of True is something that can resonate with anyone. When we begin life, we have this optimistic view of the world, and eventually build dreams about who we want to be. Society may start shaping you, and you don't even realize it. But then you start to experience things, the passage of time, worrying about becoming what you think is your perfect self, feeling the pressures of society, your first love, your first heartbreak, the despair you can feel afterwards, lashing out, rebelling. But through all those good and bad times, you've learned so many valuable lessons, and those experiences start shaping you into what you really will be. And you can determine that. No one else can do it for you. And while you probably haven't went on a wacky space journey or have a disc that can be implanted into your head, everyone is shaped by the experiences we have through life and feel all of the same pressure our protagonist did. I would imagine if you watch this video, you definitely have listened to the album. But if for some reason you haven't, please do. And with that, we've reached the end of the video. I really hope you all enjoyed, and please like, comment, and subscribe if you feel like it. It really does mean the world. I've been Colton. Thank you for watching, and as always, stay safe